442-6200.
Biggest winners and losers of 2013 for Virginia politics. So don't want to miss that. Earlier just gave you my winners. As we have time, I'll go to the losers. But got to stick with the winners. And one of my big on-air winners is the gentleman that's joining us now, who is Michael Scheuer. And he's the former head of counter-terror for the CIA at the Osama bin Laden desk. Michael, great to have you with us, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
And to you, sir. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas.
Now, Michael, let's get to Benghazi. Let's start there. Article the other day in the New York Times getting a lot of play in the media. What's your take?
The Times has reverted to what it has been since Obama was elected, and either they're being lied to by by John Brennan at the CIA and other places, or they're just accepting whole hog a position that supports the administration. That attack in Benghazi was clearly an al-Qaeda-led attack. There's no way to avoid that conclusion. Benghazi is the hotbed of al-Qaeda in that area. It was clearly a coordinated attack, an attack that was planned in advance. The administration is just trying to get away from their responsibility for those souls that were lost, American citizens there during the attack. And, of course, Mrs. Clinton has to be careful because had there been a woman ambassador there instead of a man, she probably would have had the 1st Marine Division deployed in Benghazi.
Do you really believe that?
Absolutely.
Why?
She is viciously a feminist to the expense of not minding seeing American men, whether Marines or Army people or anyone else, killed in order to make it possible for Mrs. Mohammed to vote, abort, and do all the things she thinks are necessary for a woman to be the equal of a man.
So you believe, Michael Scheuer, that had the diplomat in question not been Mr. Stevens, but Miss Stevens, that Hillary Clinton would have reacted differently. Is that what I'm understanding?
Absolutely, sir. When you go through some of the WikiLeaks cables, and I don't know if anyone is competent to go through or capable, rather, of going through the entire mess of that leak, but when you read the State Department cables from all around the world, the priority she places on ragging other governments about improving conditions for women is front and center in almost every cable. Whether it has to do with economics, politics, environment, whatever it has to do with, there's almost always a section regarding feminism.
Michael, what do you really think went down there that night? I
think it was clearly an attack that was planned in advance, and it was tried in advance. They blew a hole in the perimeter wall previously, and for whatever reason, the president ordered everyone to stand down and let those people die. You know, I'm an old retired intelligence officer, and I'm now 9 years out of service. But I'll tell you what: after 9/11, there is no president who is not utterly responsible for the response the U.S. military delivers to an enemy, whether in the course of an event or afterwards. The idea that somehow this was anyone's responsibility, but at the first level, Mrs. Clinton, and at the second level, John Brennan in the White House, and then the president. But ultimately, the president was responsible for letting those people be killed.
Michael Scheuer, as you said, you served in the CIA for some time, so you were knowledgeable about what was going on and also how things transpire around the world. Now, you just said that you believe that the president and the Secretary of State Hillary Clinton at the time made a conscious decision to stand down. That's hard for Americans to believe, that we would simply have our commander-in-chief not act when he knew an American diplomat and his contingent's lives were at risk. So how do you
find another explanation, John, for not letting the people who were in Benghazi go to the rescue, letting the people who were in Tripoli not go to the rescue, and not even bothering to try to send an aircraft that could have flown over the compound low enough to have dispersed that bunch of people who were attacking. What other reason for it is there? Why do we still not know what the president was doing during that time? This is ultimately, it's a sad thing to say, but this is ultimately cover your behind. The president in normal situations would do everything he could to save those American lives simply to avoid the blowback of not having tried. In this case, we have a president who just didn't give a damn. His story was democracy was winning after his own adventure, his personal adventure with the military in Libya, and democracy was winning. We didn't need a big presence of security. My goodness, how many times did they deny security to Stevens and his people when they asked directly for it and explained the threat that they saw on the ground? There's blood on the hands of these people right up to their elbows, John.
You know, Michael Scheuer, they say spokespeople for the administration defend it by saying, well, you know, there was sequester, there was budget cuts, they didn't have the resources. But I want to get back to what you said earlier, which is there's this...
Can I say one thing, John?
Yes.
I worked for 4 administrations, and the one truism that is absolute is that there is always money for terrorism. By definition, the budget never runs out, because if you refuse to spend the money, you kill Americans.
So you think that is basically
That's
is a
an attempt
facade?
to blame the Republicans for whatever it was, but you shift money if you have to from maybe cutting down the extravagance of the Secretary of State's dining room or her liquor bill or the CIA director's liquor bill. Whatever it is, you protect those people you send overseas to defend the Republic.
Let me ask you this, Michael. Let's get back to this black hour, this time frame where there was no communication from the commander-in-chief during this most critical time. No one seems to know where he is, what he did, why there wasn't a response back. What do you think went down there? I mean, it seems odd that the President of the United States in the middle of this can't be found for hours on end in the middle of the night.
I don't know how to explain it, sir. I know it. You know, when the story first broke, when the attack was going on, they said that he was going to Las Vegas for a fundraiser. I don't know if that ever occurred or not. But the idea that the President of the United States can't be accounted for at a time when his embassy, or consulate rather, in Benghazi is being attacked is I think to say the least extraordinary. And because of the security procedures which are around the president, people know where he is 24 hours a day. So they have either destroyed the documents that document where he was, or they're just lying. One or the other. There can't be a third option.
What would be the rationale for the president and the Secretary of State at the time, Hillary Clinton, for standing down? They were aware, you're saying, that they had to act, yet they gave the order to do nothing. We already know there were resources in the area that could have stepped in. Why the order, the potential order, to stand down?
Because it undoes their lie, John. And I think 2014 is going to be a year where we see this lie come home to roost. They have lied to the American people, and I consider that Mr. Bush lied to the American people about the danger we face from the Islamist extremist movement around the world. But these people have been liars of the deepest hue. The expansion of the Islamist movement geographically, in terms of manpower, in terms of weaponry, since Obama became president, has been extraordinary. And yet they have played it down consistently. And the place they were playing it down most consistently was in Libya, because it was a completely unnecessary American intervention in a country. It further alienated the Muslim world from us, and it threatened to put into power Islamists in the government who would be opposed to America and who would support strikes against us. They've covered that with a story, as they did with the Arab Spring, John, about how democracy was flourishing, how they were bringing enlightenment to the Muslim people. And if they had to send people to the rescue of the ambassador, that whole story gets squirreled at the end of, toward the end of an election campaign. And they certainly didn't want that. And, it worked. It scared Romney, who must have very little courage, it scared Romney from pushing the point home that they killed those Americans as much as the al-Qaeda guys on the ground did.
In order, in your judgment, Michael, allegedly to protect the big lie. Is that what I'm hearing?
Exactly, sir. You know, the problem we have with some Republicans like McCain and Graham and Lieberman, who is an independent/Democrat, and most of the Democratic Party, and most of the people who go to Eastern universities, and especially the Ivy League, is that they see the world that they want. They don't see the world that's out there. And whenever you're operating in that kind of environment, you're going to get kicked in the behind repeatedly. And that's the kind of people we have that govern us right now.
All right. That's the final word from Michael Scheuer. Michael, we want to thank you for your time. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. We're going to have you back. Michael Scheuer, the former head of counter-terror at the Osama bin Laden desk and analyst for the CIA. And Michael, just for our audience, you were at the CIA for how long?
22 years, sir. Almost 23.
Almost 23. Do you think the truth, Michael, is ever going to come out here?
You know, it's very hard to control information within this government, as you know. This government has done an exceptional job in keeping things quiet, and I think it probably has to do with the fact that they're so ideological. They're only hiring people who entirely agree with them, whether it's on the socialism of national health care, whether it's on the dementia that results in open borders, all of those things. And I think probably the ability of true believers, of fanatics, which these people are, is an ability to control information better than people who are interested in the welfare of the country and not in the welfare of their own futures and their own ideas.
All right. That's we appreciate, again, your candor with us. Michael Scheuer, been with the CIA for, did you say, almost 23 years as an analyst. He was at the Osama bin Laden desk. Michael, again, thanks for being with us. Have a great New Year, and we'll have you back early in 2014, sir. Thanks so much.
I look forward to it, John. You've been very kind to me this year. I appreciate it, and I wish you and yours the best of the new year.